Fire service, again, we're on this change. You know how we are. We love change, but we hate it. So I think that as we move forward, the greatest threat we probably see is the fact that our jobs are changing. And adaptation and what we need to do in our adaptation makes a difference in what the future brings. So hopefully, the scariest thing for me now is one of the things that we're just dealing with every day is the inability to encourage young folks to come into this career field. And unemployment is low, other opportunities exist. Kids are going to college and they don't typically see service in the fire service or EMS service as that opportunity. So I think that's, for me, is that recruitment and retention is probably the one big thing that we're going to struggle with. There's so many opportunities for this. When I look at what fire service and EMS provide for a young man or a young woman, doesn't matter, but the stability, the camaraderie, the teamwork, all of those things, I think that sometimes folks forget that you can still get that. It's one of the great values, like when we talk about recruiting somebody, I think that's one of the things we need to work on selling. You know, in this time, we still need people who put the needs of others in front of themselves sometimes. And I think that's a great opportunity for those with that servant heart or the servant mentality is to come into fire EMS.
I think the biggest challenge facing fire and EMS organizations today is the upcoming generation. That's arguably could be said over all time that the now generation is always complaining about the next generation. And I think it's a challenge in that it may be arguably more applicable today in that the challenges are compounded because of the environment today. Social media, the internet, the world is moving faster. Again, all that's arguable, I realize. But I think our biggest challenge is to leverage that generation into the service to take them in and to use their skills, adapt so that we can maximize their skills and turn that into maximizing the service that's offered by the organizations. To do anything but that is to risk marginalizing the fire service. The needs are going to get met somehow. I think the fire service is a good avenue for a lot of needs to be met. And I think the better we're able to capitalize on the next generation, I think the better the fire service will be. Perhaps ironically, but they are the greatest threat and the greatest opportunity, I think, in that by leveraging them, and if we are able to leverage them successfully, I think the abilities of the fire service are going to start, they have started growing, I think they will continue to grow and can grow beyond what we can even think of today. This generation, again, because I believe because of the environment we're in, again, social media, the internet, all of those things that make today, I think that generation is going to be what really turns the corner with the fire service and brings it really up to date. And I think doing that generation is going to be able to do things and bring things into the fire service that we can't imagine now. Be that in the way of efficiencies, better service offered, better outcomes for citizens, and so forth. I think that is our opportunity. If we're able to capitalize on that, I think that is our ultimate goal. I think it should be our ultimate goal these days.
Fire service is facing what normal society has faced for a number of years. Technology has grown at such a rapid pace that people can't comprehend everything that's available, just like you can't make policy because technology grows so quickly. The fire service for many years was stagnant on the information and knowledge it had about tactical priorities, about what's the best way to serve citizens. And now we're getting more information, and our reluctance to change is probably one of those things that's going to hurt us the most. We get so stagnant or stuck in the ways because this is the way we've always done it. We don't want to embrace change. We don't want to embrace things. Any new idea, any new tactic, any new way of serving citizens. You know, our country's changed, diversity has changed, the way we provide EMS, the way that we can continue funding for it. We just in the fire service, we're reluctant to change. I think with a younger force coming on board, ideology changing a little bit, that's going to be a challenge for every leader to make sure that we keep moving forward. We do great work, but we're very slow to recognize necessary change. The way we can serve people, embracing the ability that we have with some changes in federal guidelines, such programs as community care medicine, partnering with different agencies to promote public service, and the ability that most of your successful cities are working in a teamwork environment now, so that you're not just working where you got a fire department or a police department, that the city works as a team, that you have the capability to cross lines and do things we didn't in the past. So I think that ability to grow with that a little bit and truly serve your community as a whole is probably one of those things that will help us, and it's one of the great opportunities we have. Embracing that is going to be somewhat of a challenge, but it's going to be great for us to go.
Well, to me, it's about community risk, and let me explain that just a second. You know, in the old days, fire chief's primary job, fire's our middle name, Dothan Fire Department, or it's our middle name. It's what we did. It's what we do. But we're becoming more and more of the community safety officer, not just fire, not just EMS even. We're doing more and more total community risk reduction efforts, and that's what we should be doing. So our opportunity is to continue to grow that. About 37 years ago, I became a paramedic in Alabama, and of 10 calls that we would make, about 8 of those was of medical nature. Today, we're seeing more and more mental health issues. And one of the things that I think from a community risk reduction standpoint is how do we continue to grow the community paramedicine type process to where we're working with public health, we're working with our local community health people, and grow that, because we're seeing so many suicide attempts, suicide threats, just basic behavioral medicine issues. And it's getting to where it's pretty much about 80% of what we do on calls in EMS. And I believe that we've got to, that's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity, I believe, for us to really figure out the best route we need to do to put some legislative backing in to supporting EMS to do more community outreach when it comes to paramedicine type issues like that.
I think one of the biggest challenges that we've overlooked over the past several years is our own physical and mental health. I think that is something that's very important, and it goes back to that leadership, having very capable and people that are ready to respond, having our responders be in top-notch physical and mental condition. I think that's something that in some cases we've overlooked in the fire service, and I think that the prevalence of cancer, the prevalence of the stressors of life, coupled with the stress of the job, we're not doing a very good job of mental health. I think that's a challenge. So I think some of our challenges come from within. We spend so much of our focus taking care of others that we really need to put a lot of focus back on our employees and making sure that they're in top-notch physical and mental health so that they can go out and make those calls and be at their best when they do. I believe one of the biggest opportunities we have is preventing emergencies before they happen. Community risk reduction, risk management, taking care of things before they happen. Being a proactive organization instead of being a reactive organization, transitioning over to where we're more proactive, going out putting smoke detectors in and doing more community outreach and identifying the risks that are affecting our communities and going and mitigating those risks before the emergencies occur. I think that the fire service has evolved from just a fire department to all hazard response units to I think to where the next step is going into community risk reduction and preventing those emergencies before they happen.
I think we're our own greatest threat to some degree. I think, these days people want to put labels on themselves. Everybody wants to have their own identity. But the fact is, NFPA 1001 says we're all firefighters. That's the thing that brings us all together, is that common bond, is the standard that we got to adhere to and the expectations of the public. So I think whenever we start labeling ourselves, to some degree we limit ourselves. And because not everybody's black or white or male or female or Muslim or Christian. But again, the thing that brings us together is that common bond of public service, life safety, incident stabilization, property conservation. Those are things that should be consistent amongst all emergency response agencies. So I think to some degree, we're our own greatest enemy. I think one of the greatest opportunities in the fire service is community risk reduction. Community risk reduction involves 5 things. That's education, engineering, enforcement, economic incentives, and emergency response, with emergency response being the least effective approach. Just for example, again, when I was an assistant chief at Birmingham, I was a data guy, and I pulled the numbers. And our budget, 94% of our budget was allocated towards salaries. But of those salaries, 92% of personnel were first responders. We're not putting our money where our mouth is. If we say we do, and we know that community risk reduction saves lives. If we say that we save lives and we're protecting property and stabilizing incidents, but yet we're putting our money where the least effective approach is. And so there's great opportunities for fire investigations, fire inspections, and public education. But there's great opportunity there. And I think we need to have a change in culture where we focus more on the prevention measures, the proactive approaches, as opposed to the reactive approaches. So in my opinion, community risk reduction is probably the greatest opportunity we have in the fire service.
I guess I would give you a summary of a threat. I don't know that I can tell you that I see it actually one big threat coming at us, but one of the things I've saw over my career is we do a lot of different things, to put it real simply put. We fight fires, we do EMS response. Over my career, we've taken on other tasks, and we've expanded the ability of how we do things, from technical rescue to hazmat to other specialties. And our community depends on that. They depend on us being able to do that. And I know one of the challenges, I wouldn't know it's a threat, but one of the challenges that I see is the ability of having enough hours in the day to keep people properly trained to do all the things that we are expected to do. A lot of them are low frequency, but they're high risk. So you still, even if you only have a certain thing you may do twice a year, you still have to keep your personnel trained to a level of safety and to be able to perform that task. The community, we're looked at as problem solvers. Law enforcement deals with everything to do pretty much with a law violation. Everything else pretty much falls in the fire service. And we've got the opportunity to excel in those areas. For example, over the last few years, we've started looking at things. It's not just fire or not just EMS, but all risk. If it's a terrorist incident, fire service is going to be there. If it's a tornado, fire service is going to be there. And the one thing we bring to the table, and we bring it, I think, better than anybody out there, is the ability to quickly organize a scene and responses and put it in order. Law enforcement, our brother and sister law enforcement personnel, they pretty much respond one person at a time on events. Everything we do is a team. We build from that from day one. And the fire service over the years, from the forestry service to structural firefighting, has been able to develop the ability to go from 0 to 60 in a matter of seconds and put multiple people on the scene, have them immediately organized, have them doing tasks, executing those tasks immediately, and tracking those tasks and constantly evolving to what the next tasks are. I think that we do that better than anyone else in the community. And when we have disasters, natural or man-made, the community looks for us to take control of that and help organize the other agencies also. And I think we do it well, and I think we expand on that role. And we also have an opportunity of today's media and things. I think one of the things we haven't done well in the past is tell our story. We need to be able to tell what our value is. I've got a presentation I do our community of the fire department's value to the community, even if we don't fight a fire. And when you look at the risk, a perfect example would be, I can tell you from my department's budget, just what it saves our people in insurance cost having our ISO rating. For every tax dollar in my fire department's budget, we're saving the taxpayers $12 in insurance. You don't get a 12-to-1 ratio back on anything else you invest in every year. We've got to use today's technology and the ability to be out there every day telling our story.
That I see on the volunteer side, and I kind of look at this two ways, on the volunteer side is about staffing. You know, staffing is getting lower and lower in the volunteer service. And so with that, you don't have anybody volunteering, nobody running calls. And so that's getting harder and harder. And Why are we low staffing? A lot of it has to do with the generational change in the departments, where you have the baby boomers that were taking pride in their community. They were retiring out, or they have passed on. And so filling their voids, that's been a big struggle in the volunteer service. So the other thing is about the training requirements for firefighter and EMTs. It takes so much time in the volunteer service that many people don't have time to volunteer their time in the fire service. On the other side, looking on the more of a career side, one of the things that I see is the lack of on-the-job training. Looking at on-the-job training, we don't get the newer recruits don't get that on-the-job training experience that the older crews used to get, and that's because of the lower fire volumes that we get. And so over that, with the lack of the scenario training, real life training, a lot of departments are forced to put good men and women in leadership roles and officers and stuff like that, and having to promote them within the department. And so I see that as a big threat without the experience over time. One of the biggest opportunities I see in the fire service and EMS is the technology we have. We have technology that's right at our palm of our hand. And so with that, used to, it would be 5 o'clock, 10 o'clock news before you heard anything. So with the new technology we have now, the information can get out as we were talking. And so with the new technology, we have Twitter, Facebook, and all of this. And with the new technology, we take this and we use it for PR for your departments. And so by using it for PR, you can use it for community programs, fire safety programs, alerts, warnings, and just using it to really promote your department in your area. So that is one of the things I see as a big opportunity that many departments need to be doing to promote any kind of media with the new technology of the internet access.
There's been so many in the last year. The Cancer in the Fire Service has came out really, really big and really, really strong into trying to do more cancer prevention. So I think cancer in the fire service is the big thing today. However, if you think about the generations that we are in now, where our kids who are coming out of high school, college, or a lot of information-based technology, things of that nature, in 10, 15 years from now, where's the fire service going to be? When folks my age are retiring out, when our younger hard charger firefighters are starting to close in on the time when they're going to retire, 15 years from now, my fear is that the fire service is going to be struggling to get qualified candidates because so many kids today are not interested in public service. They're interested in your technology fields and your sales and marketing and things of that nature. So I think today the fire service needs to really get on the ball as far as recruitment of young kids to keep that interest in the fire service so that years from now, we're not in trouble. We're not in trouble in the fire service. So today's threat is in my opinion, cancer. Cancer in the fire service has hit our department twice. We've lost 2 of our members to cancer. So I think cancer in the fire service is our big one today. However, in a few years, I think we're going to be struggling for good qualified candidates who have the desire to be in public service. I would say community risk reduction. And what I mean by that, all fire departments has had some form of public education that we've done in schools, daycares. We've done that, 30, 40 years that we've had fire prevention activities. Community risk reduction really expands that. It gets you a platform to be able to go and talk with your senior citizens about home safety from falls, things of that nature, just the injuries in the home, not just fire prevention. So it gives the fire service a platform and an opportunity to reach a larger target audience because we're expanding our base of knowledge, we're expanding our information base that we can share with individuals, civic groups, things of that nature, and we're not solely focused on one topic of fire prevention with kindergarten through third grade. It's giving us a more broader approach in being able to prevent home injuries, home accidents, and things of that nature.